Ukraine and Russia continue the process of repatriation, returning the bodies of dead soldiers to each other. However, Russia uses this humanitarian procedure as an instrument of pressure and manipulation. The head of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine, Igor Klimenko, reported this. Klimenko stated that during the final stages of repatriation, Ukraine received the remains of not only its soldiers but also of dead Russian soldiers handed over under the guise of Ukrainian ones. This could have been done deliberately to increase the number of bodies handed over to Ukraine, overload our expert system and increase information pressure. It could also be a consequence of the usual Russian indifference to its dead, the minister said. According to Klimenko, the bodies are returned in a terrible state, disjointed fragments, put into different bags. Sometimes parts of the same person are handed over at different times. Such tactics significantly complicate the already laborious process of identification. After each transfer, painstaking work begins. Forensic examination, examination by investigators, DNA examination. Ukrainian specialists conduct analysis repeatedly to exclude even the smallest possibility of error. These are not statistics, these are the fates of real people who were and continue to be waited for at home. Identification takes time and resources, and when bodies arrive en masse, mixed up as they are, the work of Ukrainian experts turns into an endurance marathon. Every mistake is unacceptable because we are not just talking about soldiers, we are talking about sons, husbands and fathers who need to be returned to their families with dignity. We have no right to make mistakes. For us, these are not just numbers. These are lives, these are people, and everyone deserves respect, the minister noted. Russia once again demonstrates its disregard for human dignity even in relation to its own dead. Mixed up bodies, cynical manipulation of numbers, inhumane treatment. All this becomes further evidence of how the regime in Moscow treats its own soldiers and international humanitarian law. Ukraine continues to do everything possible to return each hero's name and each family, peace and truth, Klimenko stated.
Residents are fleeing from Iran's capital Tehran en masse as hostilities with Israel enter the fifth day. Long queues have been formed across the city at gas stations of people seeking to leave the city amid chaos and uncertainty due to the war. Downtown Tehran appeared to start emptying out early on Tuesday after U.S. President Donald Trump ominously called for the immediate evacuation of the Iranian capital. Long lines could be seen at gas stations, and traffic stood bumper to bumper on roads heading out of the city. Many appeared to be heading to the Caspian Sea area, with local reports suggesting there were some diversions. Many shops in the capital and the ancient Grand Bazaar stood closed. Israel's air campaign on the Iranian capital appeared to broaden on the fourth day of an intensifying conflict. The city is home to some 10 million people. That's roughly the same population for the entirety of Israel. As the hostilities between Iran and Israel enters the fourth day, a large number of Iranians have crossed the border into Pakistan, prompting the temporary closure of border crossing from Islamabad. Video circulated in social media shows a large number of panicked people breaching the border in an unorganized way. Border facilities in all 5 districts, Chagi, Washuk, Panjgur, Kek and Gwadar, have been suspended, Kadir Bakhsh Perkani, a senior official in Balochistan province, which borders Iran, told AFP. Perkani stressed that the crossing into Iran has been suspended until further notice. Meanwhile, Pakistan's embassy in Tehran is organizing evacuations for citizens who want to leave Iran because of the conflict with Israel. There are more than 20,000 Pakistanis in Iran, according to embassy officials. The first group of 160 Pakistanis have already arrived at the Taftan border. The hostilities started on Friday with Israel launching attack on Iran, targeting the country's nuclear, military facilities and senior-level military officials. Iran responded by launching waves of drone and missile attacks on Israel.
Within 48 hours of the start of the war with Iran, Israel claimed to have achieved air superiority over the western part of the country, including Tehran. According to the Wall Street Journal, this is an achievement that the giant Russian Air Force has failed to achieve in Ukraine in the 3.5 years of war. And this failure is one of the reasons why Russian troops are bogged down in a trench war, suffering huge losses. In the case of a war between Russia and Ukraine, we see what happens when neither side can achieve air superiority, a stalemate and a war of attrition. In the case of a war between Israel and Iran, it gives them unlimited freedom to strike where they have air superiority over parts of Iran, said retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant General David Deptula. The initial Israeli airstrikes were carried out by 5th-generation F-35 stealth aircraft. Now that most of Iran's air defenses have been knocked out, older combat aircraft like the F-15 and F-16 are entering the fray. Israel has also begun dropping short-range JDAM and Spice guided bombs, which are cheaper and far more readily available than missiles, as the WSJ notes. The Israelis have learned from Russia's failures and Ukraine's successes in planning their own campaign against Iran. But the clearest lesson so far, according to military officials and analysts, is that the Israeli Air Force is inherently more capable than Russia's, while Ukraine is far better at defending itself than Iran. In particular, as retired British Air Marshal Edward Stringer notes, the Israeli Air Force's sophisticated training and innovation, coupled with its integration of intelligence and cyber capabilities, are a key reason why the Israelis have succeeded where the Russians have failed. All the Russians have are pilots. They train these pilots to fly, flying artillery, and that's it, he said. In turn, Iran, like Ukraine, does not have combat aircraft capable of surviving an air battle with an enemy. However, unlike Ukraine, Tehran has not been able to organize ground-based air defense that could significantly complicate the actions of enemy aircraft over its territory. Thanks to warnings from US intelligence of an impending Russian invasion, Ukrainian military commanders in February 2022 redistributed and hid most of their mobile air defense assets. After several Russian jets were shot down over Ukrainian cities, manned Russian aircraft ceased operating behind the front lines, a situation that persists to this day. To strike targets deep inside Ukraine, Russia must rely on a limited supply of cruise or ballistic missiles or drones that are slow and have limited payload capacity, the WSJ writes. Unlike Ukraine in 2022, Iran was caught off guard. Israeli commandos secretly infiltrated Iran and destroyed key Iranian air defenses with short-range drones early in the campaign. At the same time, Israel was able to kill most of Iran's military leadership. Basically, what Israel did to Iran is what Russia wanted to do to Ukraine. They thought they could do some covert operation, penetrate the Ukrainian regime and decapitate it. But it turns out that Ukrainian society is resilient and not so easy to penetrate. Whereas in Iran, the regime is so unpopular that it is easy to find people there who will agree to cooperate with Israel, said Israeli geopolitical analyst Michael Horowitz.